is derived from the leaves of the coca plant. When cocaine enters the body, it has a strong effect on body functions by acting as an imp on the brain. Large overdose of cocaine causes convulsions, then death. Cocaine causes unusual and often unpredictable feelings and actions. In his ignorance, Marty took that dare, little knowing the eventual horror that lay in the deadly white powder.
Marty, have you seen the painting shears I bought last week? Can't seem to find them anywhere. Marty, you don't seem right. I'm worried about you.
Right? I got that out of
I'm going to take you down to Dr. Beaker this afternoon for a check.
perception strength and that's what I struggled with. About it being
As his body gradually built up tolerance, he needed more and more of the drug.
so having a male what sounds like is a male. It's hard. Cool. I'm gonna have to get that. Yes. Do you have anything that you could share right out of that? Okay, great. And especially anything that's like more specific to men would be huge. Yeah. One more minute. Hello, hello. Guess what? Guess what I just realized, Mike? I didn't have this muted. The music was playing. This is good. Jeez, now I'm worried. What did I just talk about? I'm turning red. I'm embarrassed. Okay. Well, now you know. It's not professional programming here. Okay. Yes, let's do the best I can. Okay, well, welcome, listeners. So, if you're just tuning in, it is 8 o'clock on the dot, and you just missed, I don't know, what was that, 2 minutes of our conversation? Private? It was supposed to be private conversation. Anyway, so you're listening to live K.I.S.S Recovery 101, and tonight is going to be great. This is February, month 2, step 2. But what's fantastic is last year we focused on the back to the basics version, and this year I'm excited. I have a co-host that's going to be we're going through, I have the women's way through the 12 steps. And now Mike has shown me this other book. It's a man's way through the 12 steps, Dan Griffin. So this is going to be great. Seriously, women versus men. Here we go. Tit for tat, side by side. Yeah. But I think it's really awesome because for me, the women's way is finally what really allowed me to open my mind and be able to comprehend the big book and make it align and connect with me. And I used to fight it for so long, over a decade. I was fighting all the words, and it was written almost 100 years ago, right? 1939 came out. So just the terminology, but a lot of like words in there. As a woman, I felt threatened somewhat, and then I had a lot of old timers be very threatening. So, but I found a woman's way, and it's just nice. I mean, I almost don't like that it has that title because it could scare a lot of males off, but really anybody can read this book, and just it really step by step breaks down and just opens that door to all kinds of different concepts. So if you're just first listening, it's about an hour tonight. We're live. So the reason we're live is, listeners, I want you to interact, comment, questions, your viewpoints, your insights. I mean, I'm not right. A lot of times I'm wrong, but I'm open-minded and I love hearing that feedback. And co-host, you want to just say hi and welcome back again? Thank you for showing up. Say hello.
Yeah, hey, I'm Mike, alcoholic addict. It's happy to be here, Bridge. I very much appreciate the opportunity to come and join you tonight.
We always have good times. This is a nice conversation with you pre-hand.
We don't know when the microphone's on.
This is just one button. This is mute, unmute, and I just missed that. I was like, oh, music, boom, tapped out. Okay, so if you didn't read the post, step 2 doesn't say we had to believe in a power greater than ourselves. It says we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us. Finding this perspective within the Women's Way invited a positive, non-threatening insight to begin exploring what a higher power can be. It allows the opportunity to connect not on who or what the power is, but rather on what this power can do for us. And I loved that. Me just changing that word. So, we had to believe in a power. It says came to believe. Came to. I mean, those came to right there. That changes that initial, I was very defensive first coming in. Don't tell me what to do. Don't tell me I have to do this. But that Jason always throws willing. Willing is a wonderful word. So just being willing. So, but yeah, so we're not gonna do the hot seat traditionally. What's nice is the second segment is I'm gonna ask an actual question right out of the Women's Way workbook. It comes with the workbook, Mike. I love that. I'm gonna ask that we can ask, kind of just go back and forth with, and then of course anything that comes to your mind, just raise your little hand. And I do have a clip. I'm only gonna play 3 minutes, but it's all about letting go. And I've actually created, when I've done workshops, is all 12 steps. Literally have like the haiku version of each step. And for me, step 2 was just, finding power, which, for me has changed immensely throughout my journey here. Okay, so step 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Okay, sanity, we're going to talk about that. Okay, I think I was in denial where my sanity was at. But I'm going to read right out of, so if you get a chance, Women's Way Through the 12 Steps, Stephanie Covington, great book. What can we believe in? Whom can we trust? At the beginning of the 12-step journey, most of us are painfully aware of our lack of trust. We're often suspicious of other people and of life in general. Life may seem painfully unfair and unpredictable. Why do bad things happen to us? It's no wonder we feel defensive, fearful, angry, or depressed, maybe even a little bit crazy, or I'll say insane. But most of us start a recovery program feeling very self-protective. I underline that, Mike. When we've been betrayed by other people or feel we've been cheated by life, we want to defend ourselves from further harm. Yet this desire to protect ourselves is based on the illusion of control, the same illusion that allowed us to continue our addictions. And that is a deeper and deeper sense. That brings us to a deeper and deeper sense of isolation. The problem is that life is more difficult and empty without someone or something to trust and believe in. So I'm going to throw it to you, Mike. When you hear step 2, and did you find that you already had this power that you believed in? Did you find it easy to trust people? I mean, yeah, talk about yourself for a little bit.
Yeah, step 2, when I look at that, the first thing that jumps out at me is hope. That something was going to be able to restore me to sanity. I mean, I don't know that I was ever sane in the first place, but I was, I'd gone to, the treatment, and that's actually where I got this book from. That's what I was just telling Bridge here. I don't know if the microphone was on for that or not, but I got it in like the end of 2015. And, it was just one of those things where I was like, yeah, this might be worthwhile. And I threw it on the bookshelf, and I actually didn't read it until I got out of treatment here in 2018, when I really wanted to embrace, getting outside of myself. And I think that's a big part of step 2 as well, right? You turn that over to a higher power. You come to believe that, maybe I don't have all that control. Maybe I can probably, there's the part in that big book too. I quote this one all the time because I love it, but they talk about, we look at our lives as if it's our own little production, right? And we're trying to be like the director and in charge of the sound and the stage effects and all the actors and the sound score, every last little bit of it. And it keeps going sideways. And so we keep trying harder and harder to arrest more control over it. And it just keeps getting worse. And I mean, that is so perfectly me, like that's what I did over and over again. And, this last time down into treatment there, we kind of blasted through the first 3 steps a little bit. my sponsor asked me, if my life was unmanageable, and I know absolutely, and do you believe that there's a power greater than you that could restore you to sanity? And I said, well, but even just hearing it, like I said, I mean, it gave me hope that because at that point, like I was so beaten down, I had tried, all the self-knowledge, all the willpower that I could muster was never enough. I just kept going back, and it kept getting worse, and I kept crossing other lines. And, no matter how hard I tried, I wasn't enough. And so at that point, I had to become a little bit more open-minded. I had to change that perception or perspective a little bit. And, like I said, yeah, with that hope there, that was the cool thing too. And you had pointed out in kind of the summary for this podcast too, and talking about that you didn't necessarily need to know what it is, but that that it's there, come to get to know that higher power. And that's absolutely been my recovery path as well. When I started down this road, I had no idea what my higher power looked like. I didn't have a firm grasp on anything. I grew up in Catholic churches, and I had obviously that notion that so many of us do, right? But that wasn't it for me. Like I couldn't really get all the way there, because thing is, it was of my own doing too, and all my using and all the screwing up that I did and suffering the consequences of my own decisions. But I wanted to put that on a higher power. It was that higher power's fault, right? Hey, I got baptized. I've gone to church on Easter and Christmas every year. Why isn't he looking out for me? And in reality, that was obviously my own doing. That was just coming back, and it was probably a higher power trying to teach me some lessons before I did worse things. But no, that was the consequences of my reaction or my actions were always somebody else's fault.
Very well said. And if there's anything you want to read out of your book, please let me know. There's I remember being in my first treatment, and I remember even saying it to the counselor, but not even necessarily soaking it in myself and believing it until later. But I remember saying, control is a delusion. I'm delusional, thinking I have this. It's an illusion of any kind of control, because at that point I had lost my kids. Okay. I was actually about to be evicted. I was about to lose my job. So for me, I had nothing that I cared about. And I was so lost into this abyss of darkness that I realized I have no control over anything. And the only thing I know that I do have control is myself. But I hated myself. That was the biggest problem, Mike. I believed that I deserved all the bad things. I deserved punishment. I did not deserve forgiveness. I remember saying, it makes me emotional, to the counselor, like, I deserve what I got. I deserve to be in hell right now. Like, I deserve to have lost my kids and feel just this awful. And I really believe that. And it wasn't until she had me, I talk about this a lot, but write a letter of all those negative thoughts I was having. So I did. I wrote it all out. Like, you're a terrible person. I was mean to myself. Like, you deserve everything you got. You deserve to suffer and have pain, and anything coming to you, like, that's what you get. And she was funny because she's like, okay, let's read it out loud. I'm like, no, I'm not reading it out loud. I know what I wrote. Like, get away from me. But I know her intention was, was meaning well. But then she was like, no, do you have someone that you really care about? Like, do you have kids, right? You have a daughter? I was like, yes. And she's like, now imagine your daughter sitting where you're sitting right now. And she's in treatment. And she's had some trouble and struggling in life and in a dark place. What would you say to her if she was saying this letter, saying these things to herself? And I immediately, without even thinking, was like, oh my God, I'd hug her and tell her I love her and stop. Like, I'm here for you no matter what. I love you unconditionally. Please, don't beat yourself up. And, I was so heated in this moment, by the way. I did not like groups of people. And she was like, Bridge, you need to say these things to yourself. Why do you think you're in such a dark hole? Like, you're not going to get out of it if this is how you're talking to your own self. Boom, like that in the moment. Of course, it took me a couple days to process. But I was like, holy crap, like, that totally makes sense. How I'm talking to myself. Of course, I'm not going to get out of the hole. I'm keeping myself there. So, I love your hoodie. Your mentality is your reality. Woo! Spot on.
What do you tell yourself?
Yes. Yeah. So when I gave up control and let go and really finally surrendered, I realized I hadn't been ready. I wasn't really ready to forgive myself yet. I built up so much stuff, but I was ready to let go of the past. All the things that I had done, I realized I was getting nowhere with that mentality. So I'm just gonna whatever. I'm gonna go with what you guys say. Let it go. I upgrade higher power. I had nothing at that point, no hope and no faith. The only I think thing that really motivated me was I need to get myself and my life together so that maybe I'll get my kids back. That was the only thing at that point. So that power of showing up and being the person I wanted my kids to follow and love and want them to, they belong to me. I wanted them to I wanted to feel worthy. So okay, I'll let go of control. And really it was so wonderful to surrender and let go and just not even think about the past. And I had to go way further and let go of people that would continue to punish me, beat me up, say things that always brought me back to that shame of the stuff that, well, I have no control of what I did in the past. Nobody does. So it was it was for me, it was a hard process because I had been a person that wouldn't forgive myself and didn't think I was worthy of forgiveness. And so let me continue reading. It says, coming to believe means setting aside our illusion of control. When we do, we open a place in our life that allows a guiding presence more powerful than us to enter. When we come to believe in a power greater than ourselves, we realize that we are not alone. We don't have to do it all ourselves. We can stop trying to control. When we begin to trust, we feel lighter and more at ease. And that's what's me. I was like, all right, universe, I'm just going to go along. I'm just going to all I did was every single day, I made a point to go with my instincts, do the next right thing. If I felt any point like, oh, this doesn't feel right, I didn't do it, or if I questioned it at all, I just didn't even do it. And at night, I could finally start sleeping because I didn't have regrets, at least within that day. That's all I would focus on. So, and then Mike, you got your book out? Go ahead and read little stuff from yours.
Sure. Yeah, right at the beginning of this chapter and this one here too, it says, regardless of how you name it, this power greater than you has been with you throughout your life, though perhaps with different faces. Right. I loved that. And that kind of jumped on that one too, because at this point now, I think that more often than not, if my higher power is going to talk to me, it's going to be through somebody in one of these rooms.
Yeah.
I think that's so often, when I stop and I really listen, I'm not sitting there planning on what I'm going to share or waiting for it to get around to me or getting all wrapped up in anxiety about all that. And I just sit and be present and listen. I feel like that's more often than not when it comes to me. The thing is too, I kind of laugh about it as well. Like the whole, when we're talking about control and whatnot, right? Like there's no way I would have been able to let go of control if I didn't feel like I was giving it somewhere, giving it to something or someone or, whatever it might be. Right. And, that's the whole, thy will, not mine be done. And I mean, sometimes I'm saying that over and over and over all day long, and some days, you don't really run into it as much, but, yeah, the thing is too, it talks about the key is
Keep going.
Yeah, there's another one in here too. The key is realizing that whatever this power is, you are not it. Right?
Yes.
So that's the thing, like I was so desperate, the gift of desperation, they talk about that in the big book, but it was like when I was down there in treatment, I had to get something figured out because I had fully accepted that my life was absolutely insane. I was insane, no matter what I had tried and different things I had done in different places I tried to be, I couldn't get it together. And so that's what opened my mind to start praying about it. And I think I've shared this in the past too, and there's a story in the back of the big book that talks about it. But it was, there was a guy that just had nothing left. He had nobody else to lean on. He had no other places, no couches to crash, nothing like that. And and he had tried all of his self knowledge, all of his willpower, couldn't get anywhere with it. And so somebody in the meeting started telling him, why don't you try praying about it, right? My sponsor beat me up with that right away too, and right away I was kind of like, nah. I'm all right. I don't know who I'm praying to yet. But the thing is, when I finally did get down on my knees for the first time in treatment there, I had to get away from everybody. I was overwhelmed. A lot of bad news was coming from home, and it was just too much. And I got down and I prayed and I asked for help. And I didn't know who I was praying to, but it didn't matter at that point, right? Because I just needed help. I needed to get outside of myself. I needed to let go of control. I knew there's nothing I could do about it. I was working on this whole setting myself aside thing, right? And in the book, the guy talks about it in the way he says, he got down on his knees and he prayed. And when he came back out of that room, he looked around and nothing had changed, but everything started to change. Right. And that's exactly how I felt about it. Right. Because that's what it is. That's all we can control is ourselves, and like you were talking about the thoughts you were telling yourself, like I get so frustrated sometimes, when I talk to people, especially early in recovery, or people that are, really hard on themselves. And we can be really hard on ourselves, right?
Brutal.
That's the thing. You worry about judgment. I tell you what, nobody judges us harder than we judge ourselves.
Yes.
Right. And
100%.
yeah. And that's the thing. I have such a hard time when people beat themselves up. And, I don't like to sit around and just listen to them. I certainly won't endorse it ever. And I always try to stop people because, like I was saying, your thoughts, the more you tell yourself those things, it becomes your reality, right? So if I'm a bad person, I'm an idiot, I screwed up, I can't get anything right, keep saying that stuff. It's going to pile up on you.
Yes. Shout out Bruce Lee. We shared that quote that he had. It's like spell, like words that don't matter in what you say. That's why I don't say bridge alcoholic addict. I say bridge recovery. Like changing that made me feel more powerful and confident, and that for me within myself, I've accepted I'm in recovery. I'm not going to label what you think I should label myself just to fit in. Like for me, I'm on the straight path. Like it gave me so much power to be like, I'm on recovery. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna play this clip quick here, couple minutes. But if you go on YouTube, and I'll share the link after, it's on the Fearless Soul channel, which I just found recently. It's been fantastic. But this is how to move on, let go, and leave your past in the past. Here we go. Sally hooked us up.
Let it go. The things that have happened in the past, the things that aren't happening right now, let it go. If you want to be free, stop locking yourself into the prison of your past. If you want to see the light, stop holding yourself in the darkness of your past. If you really want to move on, release the heavy weight from your back. If you don't want them to win, let it go. Move on and create your best life. You would never allow a thief to enter your home and live there rent-free. So why do you allow thoughts that steal your joy to enter and live inside your mind? Let it go. Had a moment of confrontation? Let it go. Don't allow it to live in your mind, stealing the joy from the rest of your day. Someone did you wrong? Let it go. They will ruin more of your life if you allow them to invade your mind like a virus, which will only affect the quality of your life in every other area. The best revenge is always moving on, letting go. Showing your ego is brave enough to let go. Showing you are strong enough to enjoy your life, to live your life fully, regardless of what happens or who isn't doing the right thing by you. Let them have their accidents somewhere else. Life hasn't gone as planned. It doesn't for anyone. Move on. Focus on the good. Those who live amazing lives haven't gotten lucky. When things don't work out, they move on quickly and focus on the next positive. They drop the negative like a hot potato and focus on what they can do today to get in a better state. They don't seek sympathy from family and friends. They focus on what is good in their life and let go of the negatives. Don't cheat on your future with your past. It's over. Commit to your future and it will be a strong, healthy one. If you don't let go of your past, your future will suffer. Understand this very important fact. You are the one who suffers most when you hold on to resentments, when you seek revenge. You are the one who wins when you do let go. Richard Carson once said, "The key to a good life is this. If you're not going to talk about something during the last hour of your life, don't make it a top priority during your lifetime." Maybe we should all take that advice. Your ego will tell you, once everything is perfect, then I'll be happy. But your soul knows the truth. Be happy, then everything is perfect. No, life circumstances won't be perfect. But if you can get into the right space, you can then get to the understanding that everything happens for a reason and be at peace with that. So be happy. Do whatever it takes to find your happy.
Ooh, do whatever it takes to find your happy. And my biggest message I got from that was like, I was giving all that power to the past. I was giving all that guilt and shame. I kept dragging along with me like a big heavy rock. Drop the rock. Yes. That's a great book, by the way. We're going to talk about that when we get to those steps. But it was true. And that's what I love about, again, the 12 steps in this program. I literally had a sponsee that after I read Drop the Rock, I'm like, I asked her if she was on board, but I said, we're going to write down your inventory, those things that you're holding on to, right? Those people, those places, those memories, that stuff that you're holding yourself. We're going to write them on rocks, right? And I made her carry the rocks around because feeling that weight. And once she was able to, call me or whatever we would process through, like letting that go. It was cool because she had that tangible weight that she got to let go of. And it was kind of cool in a way too, is like grabbing when there's new stuff that pops up. For me, now I write that stuff down. If I can't fix or, find a solution that's sitting right with me in my heart and my soul, I will write it out and put it in a box because I know, first of all, that I'm not just distracting myself for a minute or forgetting about it, but it's there so that when I need to come back and I'm in a good space to address it again, I could do it in a healthy way. And also, it's like letting go. And I burned some stuff in a fire. It's just, and tonight's a great night. It's a full moon. It's a great night to just, look at those things and process those things and set a new intention for the month. So what did you think of that clip? There's so many things.
Right.
What stuck out to you?
Oh, yeah, so much there. That one definitely gave me the feels a couple of times. There.
Yes.
Right. Like, yeah, I like the don't cheat on your future with your past. Absolutely, right? Let it go. I mean, yeah, you beat up the let it go. You got to, I love that you did that actually on a literal sense, like the carrying the rocks around, like that's kind of the analogy I make, that I actually look at like life overall is like we're on one big long hike, right? And the big book gives us a good roadmap for that hike to go along. The thing is, like, as we go along, we're picking things up on the way, right? And the resentments and the toxic stuff, those are like little rocks we just keep throwing in the backpack and bringing along with us. And like the joys and the happiness and those things, those are like little feathers you find along the trail and stuff, and you throw those in your backpack. Mm-hmm. But at some point, you keep holding on to those resentments and things, the backpack gets heavy, right? Mm-hmm. And you got to let that shit go, mm-hmm. But yeah, I loved so much of that. And there's an expression I heard too, is like, it's what is it? I want peace. And then it says, if you remove the ego, which is I, and if you remove the desire, which is want.
That's our alarm. Keep going.
Yeah, if you remove the I as ego and you remove the want as desire, you're left with peace, right? Mm-hmm. So just find it, like just be present, let that shit go that's getting in the way. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, that was perfect for me too, talking about, the letting go of it and the ego and not letting that that stuff get in your way. Don't sit with it either, right?
Right.
Like that's another thing too. And if it wasn't for that second step in finding a higher power, or starting to look for a higher power, at least starting to ask for that help, I never would have been able to let that stuff go.
Right.
And
what do you got to lose? Yeah. I mean, I had nothing to lose. And the way I was doing it for all them years wasn't working. Yeah. So like, let go of that control and try something else full-heartedly. I half-assed do it. And of course it never worked but just to wrap it up. Oh, and before I just finished reading what I was going to read, another thing that bothered me in the meetings originally in the big book was I got this perception that it's your ego. Let go of the control of your ego. It's all that you're a selfish, pride-filled person. Here's the thing, Mike, that was not my problem. In fact, it was the opposite. I had been always a person to give and never look at myself. And so it wasn't about pride or ego. For me, the control thing was I had grown up in such an abusive home, feeling like control for me gave me safety. And so, and if then was I had kids, it made me, more controlling because I wanted to protect them from the evil world and the evil peoples. And so control gave me this illusion of safety. And so again, I lost the kids, so then I realized I had no control on anything, and I had to give it to the universe. And I'll tell you, like, someday I'll go through my whole story, but they always say, oh, those things kind of just fall into place, right? Now I believe in synchronicities, right? If you're on that right path, those synchronicities are gonna be nice. You're not on that right path, you're gonna get slapped in the face and beat down.
Right.
But those things just kept happening and happening and happening. Like, someday I'll go through them, but they're unbelievable. And but again, I just made a point to keep present as much as possible. But I'm going to finish reading this really important part, because this is the women's side. Here we go. If a masculine higher power doesn't bring you to the same comfort, give yourself permission to picture a feminine or a neutral, turning the page, image. If that has more meaning for you, what kind of image is right for you? You can start with one idea and change it later if you want, which I have a few times. I actually had a vision come to me. It was not human. Okay. Some women pray to Mother God. Some women pray to a mother or father God or goddesses. Others visualize feminine images to represent spirituality, sometimes including animals or elements of nature: wind, water, flowers, earth. Still, others feel most comfortable thinking of higher power as like Mother Nature, an inner light, a life force, or other images that give special insight into our value as women. As you think about the nature of your higher power, you might also want to ask if it's higher at all. Where does the power exist for you, outside or inside? Neither or both. Perhaps you believe in a power inside you that is greater than your ego self, the self that represents your outer identity, but is really only one part of you. Your deep inner self is the self that is greater than who you seem to be on the surface. Boom, mind blown, right? I made a point now. I like, and there's a lot of things in the big book that still, that resonate, but I've kind of, as I've grown, and I've got 3 years now, as I've grown, I've really twisted things, and twisted kind of sounds negative. I've more changed things and connected with things on the total. I don't have this my will, self will versus God's will. I don't have that visas anymore, which is hilarious, the title of the show. I'm aligned with, I think, both wills, the willingness. And so it's not this internal wrong or right or whatever. I just feel within my soul. My soul knows the truth. I could feel, my spirit knows when something isn't feeling on balance, so I don't have to have this checklist at night. And, if something comes up and it's a challenge, so life on life's terms, I try not to say, oh, why am I this happening to me? I'm like, okay, what do I need to learn from this? What's the challenge? But twisting it to positive, like, this is a great way to more dig deeper into myself. That's our hot seat alarm, Mike. Okay. All right. Any final thoughts on what we talked about?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, for the higher power thing, I mean, I think it goes beyond needing clarification or definition. I mean, hell, we're sitting underneath this beautiful big full moon tonight, right? I mean, that's a higher power of mine. That's for sure. I love powerful. That when it's bright at night. How cool is that, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know. My definition or my idea of a higher power, it's changed. It constantly changes, and that's fine, And the thing is, too, it's come to a point where, like you're saying too, I think a lot of it, I feel, I feel deeply. I think I'm much more connected. I'm much more attached to my inner self, my authentic self, right? And I have an idea of what's going to impact me and how it's going to feel. The thing is too, like, for anybody listening or whatnot, like, don't let that hold you back because you don't have a clear definition. I mean, when I was in treatment, they gave me a workbook, and one of them was like a blank page, and they're like, why don't you draw what your idea of a higher power is? You know how much shit I had on that page by the time I was done. I mean, of course, there was a cross up there, but there was the sun, there was the moon, there was landscape, there was animals. I mean, at this point, yeah, I made sure I put my crystals out before I left today, I mean, it's all there, because the thing is, in reality, like, as far as I'm concerned, none of it can hurt, and I can use all the help I could possibly get sometimes, right? So, like, when I pray, like, I make jokes about it to keep it light, but like, I pray to my imaginary friends, and the thing is, in reality, what you come to find out a lot of times, I think too, is just the act of prayer and asking for help is where you stand to gain the most anyway, whether or not there actually is something that's out there looking for you or looking out for you. But mean, that's the other thing I've kind of turned my way of thinking around a little bit too, as far as, luck goes, good and bad luck. And I think it's kind of along the lines of what you're saying with the synchronicity. That's a big word.
Yeah.
But no, I always take it and I get rid of coincidence and I get rid of good and bad luck. And I always just look at it like if something bad happens or something that was misfortunate or something I wasn't planning for, that's a teachable moment. That's a higher power telling me to open my eyes and take a closer look at it, And if something great happens, like what would be good luck or whatnot, well, that's just a blessing, and you just put that in my pocket. I say thank you and I go along with it, because it's just a matter of getting outside of ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay. And also, I don't like, this is just me, and I know a lot of people don't agree, but I don't like prayer. Okay. For me, that again is that religious, and that's a lot of people that do prayer. For me, I've reported, since I'm slowly saying this out loud, I have an intentional conversation. So every night I check in with my spirit guide and the universe, and we just have an intentional conversation, which is just to review my day. And at the end of our conversation, I don't say, amen, amen. I say namaste. So I just always been rebellious. I do things my way, but they work. The point is they work. Ooh, we got a comment. Ooh, let's see. Paca says, doesn't say higher power in step 2. Knowledge is power. I have a thinking problem, not a religion problem. Ooh, good point. Yes. And what do I always say about thinking?
Think.
No, that is not what I say.
know.
I say think about what you're thinking, right?
Right.
Like where are those thoughts coming from? Because unfortunately, have you seen The Matrix with Keanu Reeves? Okay, I believe, those agreements that were locked into us since we were childhood, that's the Matrix, okay? This programming that we, was pushed onto us that we just accepted as young children, open spirits, not knowing nothing else. Unfortunately, that's not reality. And it takes sometimes, well, it took me a long time to realize that's not truth. That's only truthful because I made it truthful and I allowed other people's truths to, I thought that's how it's supposed to be. So when I surrendered, it was also this ability to say, fuck everybody else's agreements, fuck anybody, whatever anybody else thought or is thinking. And like, I'm literally just going to go on what I believe within me. So, and I don't care. And, knowledge is power 100%. And what's great is like I seek knowledge, but like you said, a lot of times I'll go to meetings or speaker things. I like to just listen, and I call those moments when you hear that pearl of wisdom, that was okay, that was I needed to hear that, something from that. I felt this ting, like, and I'll write it down. I still carry a little notebook and a little pencil, and I make my notes because I forget things really easily. But it stuck out for whatever reason. I'll highlight or underline, but I like to take time to really then rewrite it and process it in my own way. First of all, then it helps me remember, but also so I understand it more deeply.
Sure.
Sound effect. So we're not technically doing the hot seat, but we are. Okay. And if anybody has any questions that they want to throw at us, go ahead. But what's wonderful is I'm going to pull. So there's a workbook, and I found a question that I did not answer first couple times I went through this workbook, Mike. So we're going to answer it live.
Okay.
I don't know why I didn't. I know I've been through this book a few times, but okay. So if you have the workbook, it's on sanity.
Oh boy.
That's the focus of this question. You ready, Mike?
Yeah.
Says number 7, sanity. So if you have the workbook, page 20. When you were deep in your addiction, did you ever do things that felt insane to you or others? I think that's an easy yes.
Yeah.
If so, what were some of the things you did? Now, what's nice is they do give examples. This is not mine, Mike. I'll say there's some truth to this one.
Okay.
It says an example was I woke up in bed with someone and I couldn't remember how I got there. But other ones, I treated my addiction as more important than my children. So for me, I'll just answer kind of both of those things. Kind of I could align with. I'm actually going to be creating a painting on this. I was just having this really in-depth conversation with my bestie, Sarah, one of my besties. And, we've been doing those service calls where you're in the thick of it, and it's really heartbreaking, especially when you're close to that person and you see they lost their way. And I think you really got to have some tough skin. And even at 3 years, even Sarah and I, we're pretty similar in our mindsets. It's still heartbreaking. Um, and so definitely we process together. But we talked about one thing I recognize is even though they're standing in front of me and they're saying what they're saying, and I'm sure in that moment where they're at, they're speaking within their own truth. They're saying what they need to say, but they've got that protection layer. So Sarah and I, or I'll just speak on myself, but I know what they're not saying. They're saying what they're saying, but I know what they're not saying. Why? Because that was me. And what's heartbreaking for me and devastating for me is like I see this glaze, their glaze in their eyes. I see that they're lost. They're lost. They're not present with me right now. And what they're saying was what I used to say. I would say whatever I needed to say to push people away, to get you to not focus on me. So when I think about those times when I was selfish, it wasn't that I loved myself more or I loved my kids less or anybody else. That feeling and that escape, even when I saw I was losing things and I was losing, my ability to be sane, I justified it because it was, and scientifically shown, my brain knew that was a release. It knew it was a comfort. I didn't want to give that up. At that time, that was my only way to really and of course, once I had reused, I had already been so like, okay, well, I messed up. I'm just going to ride this out. And even when it came to life or death, I still continued to justify it. So what was heartbreaking is to see someone that we know, just to hear her made up truth. And sadly, we know that it's almost like I would quiet that inner voice, that inner truth, and say out loud this new truth to cover so I could continue in the depths of my addiction. Okay, so how about you? What was some insane, moments in your addiction that came out? Do you want me to reread the question again, or do you remember?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, boy, we only have how much time, right, for how many insane things I did. I mean, the thing is kind of piggybacking off what you just said too, though, right? Like that sane mind, that voice in there, right, that's telling you what you're supposed to be doing or kind of trying to keep you connected to reality. Like for me, that voice just kept getting quieter and quieter, and those demons, those voices just kept getting louder and louder. And for for a long time there, I had no idea what my authentic voice was. I didn't know who was driving or what. I mean, yeah, the insanity and some instances of that. I mean, but one of my DWIs I had the ignition interlock, and like, I mean, almost every morning going to work the next day, like I would, not every morning, but there was plenty of times that I would actually blow and not be able to start my car to go to work the next morning. But the insanity in there is saying, it's okay. It's this janky little breathalyzer thing, right?
Yeah.
Not my fault. No, I didn't drink too much last night. I mean, how many times I did that over and over again. I mean, to the point of like the justifications of the insanity and whatnot. Like I would barely make my shaky way through work all day long, and I'd be cursing, drinking, and how much I hated it and how I'm not going to do this again tonight. But then when I get home, I mean, it was just screaming at me the second I walked in that door. But the thing is, I would justify that I'm not that bad, that I'm not totally insane, because I would go get the mail and then come back
Yes.
and make a drink, or I would feed the dog, like how insane is that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, yeah, over and over again. There was a time I was on a work trip. I was at a hotel somewhere. There was a bar right in that hotel. I went over there, that they were making pretty good drinks or whatnot. I mean, I wake up the next morning wearing everything I was wearing the night before. I don't even know how I got back to my hotel room, just on top of the sheets in bed. And I was like 2 hours late to work I was supposed to show up for. I mean, sure, I'm running around there just stinking like a bottle of rum, and it was just, nah, that's fine. And same thing the next night, went right back down to that bar. Like, what, talk about insanity, right? I mean, there's one of those stories we were talking about in the book that I think it was a gal's story, but she was talking about how she had drank the night before and she found the answer, and that was everything, acceptance, and she had the personality she wanted, and then she had to go to her course the next day or something, and she was just waiting for that instructor to get done so she could run to the bathroom and just puke everything up.
Yeah.
And after she did that, she was like, yeah, I figured it out. This is what I want to do. And it's like, what? That's insane, right? Like, we're not supposed to think like that, but that's kind of what we do, or where we get to sometimes.
Yes.
But I mean, yeah, the list of instances of how many different insanity deals Yeah, there's plenty.
Oh yeah, yeah. And luckily it's only an hour show.
Yeah, right.
Okay, we got another comment from Paco. Let's see. I thought like a drug addict. Before I was taught that alcohol and drugs were not okay. Now I know better. You can't solve a problem if you don't know you have one. Yes. And you can't solve this problem with the same thinking that created it. Change your thinking, change your life. Oh, yes, he's nailing it. Ooh, that makes me think of yeah, you can't solve a problem if you don't have one, right? Right?
Yeah.
So
You
for
convinced
me,
myself that.
yes, my life in my mind was not unmanageable because before I lost the kids, and even through the divorce, I was like, I still had my good job, I had my vehicle, I had my house. I was taking care of all the kids by myself. I made sure they went to school every day. They had meals, that we did story time, after bedtime though. That's when shit would get unmanageable, Mike. God. But
Get insane.
yes, insanity. And I still think about it. Like me staying up till midnight. I hate myself. Like, okay. And now I've been working on thinking about Future Bridge. Future Bridge is like the next day bridge. Is Future Bridge gonna be happy with you if you stay up till midnight? Or if you get your ass at least in bed and try to sleep by 10?
Right.
Okay, so think of Future Bridge because person in the bed eating her cheeseburger, bed impossible
Right.
cheeseburger, and looking at the Facebook or YouTube or whatever is really happy and content. But I always wake up like, dang it, I could have used those couple of hours of sleep. So I've been really making a point to think of for future bridges happiness.
Right.
Let's just get to bed early. You can eat your
I
cheeseburger
do that all
at a
the
decent
time.
hour
Right.
the next day. But just to give some positive insights. So in the workbook, it talks about faith and it says, no one truly believes in nothing. Okay. And I would have argued this, I'll tell you, in my darkest days. We all take some beliefs for granted. So what I loved about this, and you see, look at Mike, I filled out some things. List 5 things that you have faith in, 5 things that you trust. Now, again, Mike, I didn't have people. I never had family. And I had so many people screw me over, like really badly. I really had lost my way. I had lost faith and hope in humanity and anything, especially in myself. So some examples they give is, and thankfully they gave examples because
Yeah.
that gave me something to go off of because I was really bad. But it said the examples were, I trust that the sun will rise tomorrow and I will continue to believe this even if the sun's hidden behind the clouds. Isn't that beautiful? I was like, okay, there's some facts. I could go with facts.
Yeah, right.
This is great. It's another example was, I trust that if I drop a rock, it will fall, not rise. See, so I was like, okay, I could go off of these are facts. You're not
Right.
trying to have me have faith in all this bigger, higher power, whatever,
right.
something nonsense. So I'll just read. I don't remember what I wrote. Here's what I wrote. I trust that in my time of need, I'll be provided with just what I need. Oh, that's a good one. Oh,
That's a really good one.
perfect time. We're getting into the beeps next. I trust life will always be changing. Look at Mike. I was pretty wise.
Yeah.
I trust when it is my time to leave this life, it is time. Fear must be lifted. I don't know what I meant by fear must be lifted, but it's good that I just started. Well, Mike, I tried to end my life. Okay. That was my plan. Definitely, if nobody would have found me, that would have been the end of all. But when I woke up, I was pretty pissed off. But I realized, okay, that was a clear indicator somebody, some power wants me to stay. So I like that I wrote that when it's my time to leave this life, it will be that time. Here's the best part, Mike. My things are positive, and I'm having like too great of a day. I'm like, okay, higher power, don't take me yet. Don't take me yet. I still have more good things to do.
I'm not ready.
Yes. Okay. Oh, okay. Hold on. I got another comment. Ooh, Sheila says, Bandrowski. Step 2 says, we came to believe. It's not automatic. We need to realize the void. Step 1 leaves 2 helps us. Ooh, I love that. Helps us fill, changing our old belief system and creating a new one. Uh-huh. Ooh, I'm writing that down.
Right.
That's
good.
beautiful.
Right.
Yes, she's right. It wasn't automatic. It wasn't automatic for me for over a decade, Mike. And realizing that, feeling that emptiness from step one, step one, okay, I admitted all these crap. Now what? Now what? I felt more empty, I feel like. But I love that she says it. Step two kind of gives us that opportunity to start feeling that what I had was empty feelings. So with love and connection. Okay. Guess what time it is? It's me time, Mike. Okay.
I always feel like that's an unsolved mystery. That's X-Files, right?
Yes, and guess what my roommate just mentioned? There's a new version of Unsolved Mysteries with William Shatner.
I've been watching it.
Have you?
Yeah.
And they're talking about a lot of things that I'm into.
There's one where they talk about like the brain activity and the different things that the brain's capable of, and it is insane.
Yes.
Good insane.
Guess what I just started this week? My free trial of Gaia, Gaia. Okay, it's amazing. They talk about all the things that I align with, right? That our reality isn't really our reality, and all things that I was even getting into. See, I had to make myself go to bed. I was getting into the pyramids and the ancient ones, and all kinds of things that. Oh, okay, we won't get into that. But it's amazing. And I'm just so happy to finally have something I can binge watch. I don't watch TV because mostly I just lose attention. But literally that channel, psychedelics one. Oh my gosh.
Bill Shatner sucked me into that Unsolved Mysteries. I've watched a bunch of episodes now.
Oh, okay. We're gonna have to connect with which eyes. There's 3 of them that I was really I just kept watching. I'm like, thank goodness I only have a week. I'm pretty good. I think I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna cut Netflix. I've cut Netflix. I think I'm gonna get it. Okay, so now we're gonna do the memes. This is my favorite part, Mike. Okay, and really, I've not been on social media a lot, so I'm not gonna lie. I just grabbed a couple extra ones today. I only had like 3. I might have stole those. Okay, here we go. Meme number 1. Go ahead, take a look. Oh, just go ahead and read that one.
That's a little bored, and it says, "I'm not sure how many problems I have because math is one of them."
That was just good humor.
Yeah.
That's true though. You want me to list them out and count them? This is complications.
Doesn't say as long as I can count with my fingers, I'll be fine.
Okay, go ahead. Just describe what do we see there? There's a hippo and a lighter.
Yeah.
And what does it say?
So it says, "What's the difference between a hippo and a Zippo? One is really heavy, the other is a little lighter."
I just like those puns. I think Sarah sent this one to me. It's beautiful. Okay, next meme. Oh, it's just words.
Unpopular fact: there is still grief involved with letting a toxic person go. Absolutely. Yeah. You know, that's in that Letting Go, the Pathway to Surrender book, that David Hawkins one I think I've talked about a couple of times. He says that the basis of all human grief is attachment and desire. Right? So even if people are toxic, doesn't mean we're not necessarily going to get attached to them and not know better, right? Yeah, I like that one.
What do they say? Like your heart wants with the whatever. I don't remember what it is, but I saw on Tuesday nights, it's almost getting done, I'm halfway through, but I attend a grief and trauma group. And learning the different, understanding better the different stages of grief and what the different types of trauma is. And it's been beautiful because it's group, like we've been through some shit. But Sarah really made a good point, like it says here, there's still grief involved with letting go of, those toxic people. And like she says, I love that she says, look at that in a positive way. So last weekend was really tough for me. I had to get rid of an email that had pictures from over 10 years ago of my marriage, and I kept them, the stupid account, because I didn't want to lose those pictures for my kids. I wanted my kids to see that, at one point I did love their dad. So, they don't see that a lot of that now. Not openly, but it was a roller coaster of feelings. And what Sarah pointed out was like, at least, like that's an indicator that those feelings were real. That love that you had for that person, even though it got toxic in the relationship, I don't even like this saying that that's a toxic person. Maybe that's just a toxic person for me on my path, right? We got married really young. We went our separate ways, but that doesn't mean that they were a bad person. It just wasn't a good fit for me. And so just acknowledging that those feelings are real and we're human. And I really think that that's the point of life, believe it or not. The Matrix is funny. The bad guy wanted to come back and just get locked into the Matrix. Well, I kind of think that's what the universe is like. Yeah, go live this life because you get to experience those human feelings and everything. And so,
Absolutely. Yeah, what's life without feeling? You know, we don't want to. Well, how many years did we all spend trying to numb and feel differently, right? And because we didn't want to deal with feelings in a healthy way.
next meme, big black bucket. It's a big black bucket. What does it say?
Anti-bucket list. What's something you'll never do again?
You got anything on your anti-bucket list?
Oh boy. Drink.
Yeah, there was a lot of comments, and a lot of them was like, "I'll never get married again."
That's one of them. Yeah.
A lot of them
I was gonna say,
relationship.
you were just talking about those pictures that you look back on.
Mm-hmm.
I had a friend that he asked if I could find some pictures I had taken of a trip to Boundary Waters we took in 2009. So I hauled out all the little flash drives I had all over the desk or whatnot, and I was going through them. And yeah, there was some old ones that I wasn't prepared for. I mean, all the way through that whole divorce process where I was actually like taking pictures of all my possessions and screenshotting some of the nasty, now ex-mother-in-law text she was telling me, I'm like, it was heavy. Like I had to sit there for a little while. Like, I didn't think it was still going to have that much of a, carry that much weight.
Mm-hmm.
But again, the feelings, and like at this point now I'm finally capable to like actually sit and take a good look at that, process that and say, you know what, that's done. It's over with. But, now I've moved through it kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I used to be one of those people that I'm never getting married again. Never doing it. Guess what? Never say never. Here's the thing. I've switched it. I'd be open to it again, but guess what? I'm never going to sign no fucking paperwork from the U.S. government.
There you go.
We could do the reception. Yeah, we could do the vows. We can have a beautiful whatever. But I don't need to make tax whatever write-off. Fuck that. It ain't worth it.
No, absolutely not.
If you love me, we're going to make these promises and have these vows. That's all we should need, right?
That's what I'm saying.
Why got to lock it in with paperwork?
I think it takes a little bit of the beauty away from marriage that you have to have a state-sanctioned, signed, certified piece of paper for it. I don't know. Yeah, me personally in my divorce process, I mean, I had zero control over my ability to find happiness for months.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just held hostage for months. And I just won't. That's not something I've forgiven it, but I won't forget that,
Right. Well, and if you got a group of people that's witness enough. Okay. Oh, next one is Bert and Ernie. You ever watch Sesame Street?
Yep.
Okay, so we got two clips. One's Bert talking to Ernie, and then at the bottom is just Ernie. So what does the top clip say?
So it says, "This is why my generation grew up so sarcastic." And it's Ernie, "How do I look?" Ernie says, "With your eyes, Bert."
And so some people just have that personality.
Right.
And then for me, sometimes it's hard to read. Just like I take things kind of as, especially when I'm meeting someone, I'm just kind of naive like that, gullible.
Yeah.
And so they'll say something like, "Oh, wow, really?" And like, "No, I'm just kidding." I'm like, "I don't know you. Don't fool me. Don't fuck with me. I don't know you." That wasn't funny. Okay. Oh, this one's great. There's a puppy. What does it say?
Yeah, a picture of a little dog, and it says, "Behind every strong woman is a dog that follows her to the bathroom." I would say every strong man too.
And cats too.
Right? Yeah.
But cats are a little more picky. But here's the best part. I was babysitting my roommate's Artemis. Shout out. She's great. But here's so funny. She did. She followed me into the bathroom.
Right.
And rather than try to shoo her out and whatever, at least I snuck into the bathroom while my kids knowing my 4-year-old likes to follow me in there too. And that's a nightmare. I did. We just locked her and she was just more content just being in the bathroom with me.
Yep.
Brings back memories.
Yep.
Okay. Ooh, this one's more thinker. Go ahead, read it. Don't pre-read it.
Manipulators and gaslighters hate to see you unbothered by what they thought would bother you. Remain unbothered.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here's what's so beautiful is understanding. Once I understood, like most of the time when someone's upset with you and they're spreading word and saying whatever, they want your reaction.
Oh, yeah.
And I find that especially when I'm not personally directly giving them a reaction, and actually at the end of the day, I've just stopped responding completely at all, because that gives them that power or this delusion in their head that they're controlling me still. But what's so great is being unbothered by what I hear or someone, "Oh, I just read it, like I just leave it there. Well, that's good. Tell him I hope he's doing well.
Right.
But that's so wonderful because it doesn't bother me anymore. It gives them no power at all.
Right.
I think that pisses them off more.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, if you don't lean into it or ask them more about it or like, keep that conversation going and just blow it off or whatnot. Yeah, that's it.
Yes, and I find their little spies can't report nothing back.
Yeah.
Because I could just imagine to be like, well, what did she say? Oh, nothing, man. What?
Yeah.
She don't care. Move on. Okay. Ooh, next one. Just words again.
Oh, I love this one. No amount of regret changes the past. No amount of anxiety changes the future. But any amount of gratitude changes the present. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, what do you do when you find yourself thinking too far ahead? I mean, that I think it's just going to be my human nature.
Right.
I do like to have plans, even though, those can always change, but it gives me a sense of comfort. It's safety when I have some idea of what's going on in the next day or week. So what do you do if you find yourself, so what I call is like this merry-go-round or the hamster wheel, when I realize I'm overthinking and now I'm starting to create anxiety. This is not needed. What do you do to kind of heal yourself or just keep yourself from doing that?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, anxiety's been a huge part of my life since my early 20s, and it's definitely something I continue to deal with. I think, though, like, I love to have plans too. Like, I like to look ahead at things and I can, but like, if I'm looking ahead to the point I'm overanalyzing to where it's giving me anxiety already and I'm not even there, then I need to take a closer look at why. What am I afraid of? Why am I getting anxious about something that I have no idea, how it's going to turn out, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of one of those things, hope for the worst, or hope for the best, plan for the worst.
Yeah.
I almost got that backwards.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, I love that too. No amount of regret changes the past. So, get out of yesterday, right? And then, no amount of anxiety changes the future, because it absolutely doesn't. You have no idea how things are going to turn out down the road. Like, you can plan and be ready or whatnot, but yeah, don't spend too much time there, because the thing is about being present, right? Like it says, but any amount of gratitude changes the present.
Mm-hmm. And Tony Robbins gave me a pearl of wisdom. He said, when you sit down and you're in that moment of gratitude, okay, you don't have to sit here. I hate gratitude lists, okay? Just think about something that you like. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to keep it real, because it took me a long time. But yeah, in that moment of, for me, like at the darkest days, just thinking about something good that happened during the day. And let me tell you, sometimes I'd be pondering it for a while, but I'd think, okay, well, at least I got to this appointment on time, or, I was so alone, Mike, in the beginning. I was so just lost and depressed, and just somebody opening a door for me would make me feel like, okay, there are still nice people out there. He didn't everybody. But he says, in that moment of gratitude, when you're thinking about something you're grateful for, something that's good that happened during the day, or something, that brings you a little joy, fear and anger can't be present. It can't. Because so if you're letting fear and anger get in the present, you're not in gratitude. So stop that. Right. So really, like I said, I had a lot of fear because I had lost all control. So just picking out, okay, well, at least I got this done. At least I showed up. Maybe it didn't go how I wanted to go, but I showed up. That's why I say to people that, especially new coming into meetings, you're fucking here. That says a lot. Yes. I mean, a lot of people are still suffering alone, so give yourself some grace.
Yeah, absolutely. I try to remind friends and people in recovery that all the time too, because like, a lot of times, we'll take stuff for granted, or like we accomplish something, but we don't take a minute to give ourselves that pat on the back, and it's not prideful. It's not ego. If it's one of those things, you overcame something, you did something that was unfamiliar or uncomfortable, give yourself some damn credit. We're all so fucking hard on ourselves sometimes. Yes. And we just keep going through the motions, and I did this, or I was expected to do that, so that's why I did it. No, whatever, you still did it, and give yourself that little pat on the back sometimes. I think we're so entirely too hard on ourselves and living in anxious, fast times with the fears and the angers and things.
Well, here's what's so funny now. That whole, the 4 agreements is, whatever people are saying. One of the agreements is don't take anything personally, because anything anybody says to you is about them. So now I don't even tell people when I'm going to go speak somewhere, a speaking engagement. I recently spoke it was actually a men's group, and it was a group of dads. And it was a group of dads that were supporting people in recovery.
Cool.
right?
Kind of like an Al-Anon kind of thing.
Yes, they're from Thrive.
Nice.
Shout out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
I didn't think about it, okay,
Yeah.
at all. I really didn't think about it. I'm just like, I'm just gonna, share my story like I do. It's always different every time, whatever, I'm gonna go with it. However, I started telling people about it like a dumbass. And they're like, well, what if this? Or what if they ask that?
Yeah.
All of a sudden I started feeling myself with anxiety. I'm like, fuck it, I'm not telling anybody else. I'm just gonna do it and it's gonna be fine. I ended up, it's funny because then I did start overthinking. I started writing some things down that, well, what if they ask me this? Or what if I cry or whatever? Here's the funny part, Mike. I didn't look at my fucking list once. This is what happens when I start speaking. My mind goes blur and stuff comes out of my mouth. And that's why I end up recording a lot of things. I have no idea what I said. I know there was a couple times I shared some quotes, pass on.
Sure. Yeah.
But other than that, I didn't get shot down. No tomatoes were thrown, so it must have been fine. All right, we got a picture of a donkey. I love donkeys. They're very smart, full of personality. So this one jumped out with me, but the words are even better. Go ahead and read that one.
Yeah, it actually reminds me. There was a video that just came on, and it was a dog that when you sniffed an electrical fence, and it zaps the dog.
I
and
saw that!
Yeah, it goes running up.
Dog
The dog just starts laughing.
It just starts laughing. Dumbass dog.
Oh, I could watch that 100 times and still laugh every time. But
Yes.
yeah, so it's a donkey looking over a wall or something. He says, don't try to win over the haters. You're not the jackass whisperer.
Bing. Yeah, we can leave that one there. All right, we're almost done. Last one. Second to last.
So it looks like a cat that
Looks tired.
tired. Yeah.
Annoyed, maybe.
Got a frown going there. Yeah. So when you're almost asleep, but you hear that you got a text and you have to roll over and see who in the world would be contacting you at this ridiculous hour of 9 p.m.
9 o'clock. Oh, I get old. It's true. It's it gets dark.
Nightstand and the charger, and it goes off.
Yes, and on Friday night, I had no kids, and Sarah and I were like, "Well, what should we do?" And she was like, "Oh, we could go try this Lebanese place," and I'm like, "I don't know, it's pretty late." And I'm like, "Wait a second, Sarah, is the clock in your car, is that correct?" It was only 7 o'clock. She's like, "Yes, it is." I'm like, "Oh my god." My meter's off. Okay, last and final, and I've shared this a couple times, but I love this one.
It says those people who tried to bury you didn't know you're a seed. You were a seed.
Isn't that beautiful?
Right? Yeah. Referring to growth.
Yeah.
Right? Plant seed.
I love this because in my darkest days, I was buried, and it was a lot of people that I felt they were waiting for me to fall. They were waiting for me to fail all the time. And they were the first ones to just grab another shovel, dump some more dirt on me. But they never expected for me to be sitting here and doing how well I'm doing. And it's not that I just talk about it. The nice thing is it comes from within. I'm a be about it. Like I get so many times where people are like, they say that something about just my energy, they come to me, like they feel that I live and breathe, not I all the time, but happiness, positivity. There's real moments, but like I think they feel my energy of just this open, loving person, and especially in the rooms of recovery, those are my people. That's why I always ask, are you a hugger? I don't want to hug everybody, but I do want to hug everybody. So, but they feel my love. Yes, but before, I was so scared, and not scared like, oh, I'm afraid that person's gonna physically hurt me. Like scared they were gonna break my heart. Where now I'm like, my heart is open, and I know where to like gauge where if I'm not feeling right about something, that's okay. Like, but I don't have to make excuses for anybody else, and I damn well don't have to make no excuses for myself. And how about you, Mike? Would you say that? There's been key seeds or moments that have helped you really grow into the person that you are now. And I know you be planting some seeds. I come to your meeting that you facilitate. I follow you around too. And I'm just like, ooh, that was a seed. Let's say, I'm always curious to see who comes back and where, you never know what your seeds will be. And if they're watered and taken care of, you never know what they're going to grow into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like that a lot. I mean, I guess, I've been pretty active with running around in different things. I mean, we do the breakfast up here and we got that meeting, and I try to connect with people when I go to different clubs and, come tell them, check out this meeting or look for other ones that, they might go to and, see So the whole thing though, right? Like attraction rather than promotion. Right? And like that's absolutely, Bridge. Like you epitomize that, and you just got this spirit when you're running around and going places. And like I said, I mean, the reason that I'm even started going to that meeting that I'm leading now is it was because you were going to it.
Yeah.
You know, like I saw what you had going on. And I wanted a little bit of that, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to this meeting too because that's where Bridge is going. So I mean, it's absolutely that too, though. Like the whole planting a seed thing, you know, as well as us being, you know, on a figurative sense, being seeds. There's one of those memes I saw along the lines like when you plant a seed, you know, you don't dig it up every couple of days to see if it's
Right.
growing. You just keep watering it, you know, and
Mhm.
giving it that sunshine, keeping the soil warm or whatever, and it'll grow, right? And it's like, I think that's so much of life too, right? Like you
Yeah.
plant those seeds, and hopefully, you know, when you're going around and you're doing your thing, that yeah, you are leaving, you know, you're having only a positive impact on people that you come across, right? Like
Mhm.
I think that's one of the most important things that I try to stay aware of, even when I'm having one of those days. You know, it's just don't run around bleeding on people that didn't cut you, right? Like I
Yes.
think that's so huge, and I try to remind myself that all the time because you know we can get all wound up with work or different things or different personalities that beat us up. But the thing is, like I always have to take a check and see, you know, how am I showing up today,
Mhm.
right? And make sure that you know if you do have the chance that you run into somebody, especially somebody early on in this recovery that's really going through things, like it's just the smallest little thing that could go so far that can stick with them, you know. And like that's the most important thing for me to remember. I can get wrapped up in my head, I can get so preoccupied with this, I can get worried about, you know, who's doing this, who's all everything else, you know, but that's not what's really important, right? It's just when who am I going to be today? You know,
Yes.
how am I going to show up?
That's beautiful. And that, I'm just going to leave it there. That's a wrap. 9:07. Thank you again, Mike. So
Thank you.
next monthly edition will be hitting step 3. And what I love is I'm going to hit some people with some seeds. No, I'm just kidding.
Driving around throwing seeds at people.
Yes. A little Nerf gun with some seeds, pellets.
Perfect.
But what's great is I love to say that those first 3 steps are the foundation because it's important to have a solid foundation. And we will definitely review 1 and 2, but 1, 2, and 3 is that foundation because you can't build a house, let alone clean a house, if you don't have solid foundation.
Yes.
Right? So if you're doing that inner work, you know, that's where we get into 4 and 5, right? You got to have a good backup plan because again, for me, I didn't have peoples. So I needed something else to rely on besides humankind.
Right.
Okay. But yes, full moon, again, if you don't believe in, you know, a religious view or, you know, humanity, take a look at that beautiful big full moon. I mean,
Find
that's
something.
powerful, right?
Yeah.
And the energy that the moon gives is enough to make hurricanes. You know, the sailors worships the moon for a reason.
Right.
This is powerful. So get out there and get some moonlight on you.
Right.
All right, everybody. Have a great week, and we will check in next week. I will get the music. And thanks for listeners for participating. And I'm always clicking on the wrong stuff. There it is. Returning home. Good night, everybody.
Good night, y'all.